Hello guys, welcome back and welcome to this new video. Today, finally, everybody was asking for it, Centurion guide. Now, we are done with the banner guys, the banner units, and now we get into the more interesting characters, the one that are like outside of the banner that you probably re-rolled for or accidentally got somewhere, right? Now, today is gonna be Centurion. Centurion was very popular, everybody asked for it. And you probably re-rolled for Centurion. Most people I know re-rolled for Centurion. Try to re-roll. They're still re-rolling on the side. They're playing the game and then they're re-rolling on the side. Now, before we begin, the usual stuff like a stream on Twitch. If you want to go follow, please do so. Much appreciate it. If you want to ask questions while I'm live or chill while I'm playing the game, feel free to do so. You just heard Centurion on one of my accounts that I made that I got Centurion on. It's low level. It's just like to show Centurion. If you don't have her. Now, let's go back to the character. Now, the Centurion is a very, very strong DPS. Arguably, at the moment, the strongest. Mainly because she doesn't have any weakness, let's say, any downside. She just does a lot of damage. She scales with Moxie. She self-sustains. She does a lot of damage. She applies weakness. She applies Moxie on herself plus Moxie on herself. So, she doesn't really have that much of a downside, so she's reality. So let's go and take a look at her kit. First of all, the ult applies one weakness to all enemies. It's a mass attack, deals 300% reality damage, and the weakness, there is a way of keeping the weakness on the enemies more like almost all the time, but it's not possible yet. We're gonna wait until 1.2, actually 1.1, I believe. We'll see. We'll check on the team building with other characters that are not yet in the game. We might be able to do weakness constantly. We'll talk about it. Now, the second skill is just an attack, and the attack scales with the amount of Moxie that you have. So the caster's Moxie times 8% of the caster Moxie. So if you have 5 Moxie, it's gonna be 40% reality damage. Etc. 12 and 20% of the amount of Moxie. On the other attack, which is the AoE, the mass attack, deal damage to 2 enemies and Moxie +1 to self and +2 to self if it's level 3. Now, remember the fact that it's level 2 or level 3. We'll touch on it later. Now, her inheritance, the Insight 1, 2, 3. 1 and 3 are the craziest one. 1, of course, as usual, but they make Centurion really, really strong for 2 reasons. First of all, Insight 1 is for every 1 Moxie owned, damage dealt +6%. So at full Moxie, if you don't do your ult and just do your attacks, you're gonna have 30% more damage bonus, global, permanent, as long as you have enough Moxie. Insight 2 is the usual critical rate, and Insight 3 is when the caster loses Moxie, HP plus the 20% of your max HP. So the more HP you have, the more you're gonna heal when you lose Moxie. Now, when you lose Moxie means when you do the ult. So you could do that. You could do 2 playstyles. One focused around spamming the ult, like reaching the ult as soon as possible by using the level 3 outdoor superstar and maybe other characters that we'll check later. But those other characters are a little niche. So it's fine if you don't want to use them, but I will tell you anyway, just in case you don't know, right? So, one playstyle around spamming ult. So you will heal a level inside 3. You will also heal by losing 5 Moxie, which is basically a lot of HP because each Moxie heals for 20% of your max HP, which is ridiculous, right? So imagine doing an ult and you're like 1 HP and you do like the ult, you're gonna heal up 5 times 20% of your max HP. So a lot, right? Now, and the other one is to just focus more on damage, because like if you don't do your ult and you just spam skills, you do skills, you're gonna be able to do more damage with your main attack, and you're also gonna do more damage thanks to the Insight 1, because you will always have 30% up because you have 5 Moxie, right? Of course, at some point you're gonna have to do your ult to heal, let's say, but that's one of the playstyles that you can do with Centurion. And now, before we get into the Psychube, let's touch on the team building. So now, characters. First of all, let's go. We'll go with every tier this time, right? We'll check about the 6 stars, we'll check the 5 star, we'll check the 4 star, we'll check the 3 star. Now, as every team building needs, for a team needs to be built, it needs a DPS, which is Centurion, and now we need to cater towards her and try to put characters that enable her kit or her damage or whatever play style you want to apply with you want to do with her, right? Now, first of all, let's do with 6 star. Crazy characters that will enable Centurion are, for the supports, Lee, because she has a damage bonus, damage buff, and she also has Empower Incantation, where she could accidentally, because it's not deterministic, you cannot choose it, she might accidentally level up one of Centurion cards, making her have a stronger card and potentially like a Moxie plus if she accidentally goes and levels up the AoE one, or way more damage if she gets the other card. So Lee is a crazy support. You can also use on 1.3, Shamane is going to be one of the craziest option as for supporters for Centurion, but also in global, because Shamane is extremely strong, AP efficient. It reduces his debuff is ridiculous. Increases damage taken by all enemies plus 10% at level 1, and reduces the reality and mental defense by 15%. And this doesn't increase, but the damage taken does. At level 3 you get plus 30%. He also gets back the Moxie that you use by doing the ult once you stack a lot of Nature Blessing, right? And you will get more Nature Blessing triggers at I1 and I3. You get more. You get when you stats down on the target we're attacking, which on the enemy, which they will always have because you're debuffing them. Damage dealt is increased up to a maximum of 24, and you gain 2 stack of Natural Blessing, and then at inside 3 you get 1 more every 2 turns. So you will be having realistically 2 to 3 Moxie refund every time you do the ult. And when you do the ult, you have crit rate on the primary target is increased by 20%, and this is the string that Regulus also has, which makes it so if you have a lot of crit rate with Shamane, you will be able to convert it into crit damage if it's overflowing, right? So you're going to deal a lot of damage and plus additional 250% reality damage to said target. It's a mass attack, but on one target you're gonna deal a lot of damage. So going back, so Shamane is 1.3. So if you want to pull for Shamane, be careful and save your pulls. Now, for other supporters on 6 stars, there is nothing else, I believe. Maybe, but Pickles is not that good for Centurion, to be honest. Yeah. No. I'm reading right now because I wasn't counting on it. I wasn't thinking. 2 spells. Nah. Pickle is not for her. Now, let's get into the 5 stars. The 5 stars, there is a lot of options, of course. Now, if you don't have Beacon Bloom, which is the best pair, Beacon Bloom. If you don't have a Beacon Bloom, you can use Tenant, but Tenant is more of a healer. It's like instead of the healer, right? But you could use Tenant. You can use Balloon Party for a healer. You can use Necrologist. Necrologist is a little weird, but you can make her work, especially if you have her P5. If you have her P5, you're gonna get a total of 50% damage for all allies when you do the ult. You also get Prayer on the ally, on every ally. But yeah, if they have Prayer, they get healed. So you will get the plus 30% damage, which helps. And also keep in mind that at I3, Centurion is going to heal herself every time she does the ult. So, and also with some Psychubes, you can make it so you don't really need a healer too much. So this is definitely an option. She doesn't really do, besides dispelling on this one on the level 2, she doesn't really do much in terms of like providing shields, healings. No, she just makes it so you cannot die. But besides so that's an option. 30% gets to 50%, 40% of P1 and 50% is it P1? Yeah, 40% of P1 and 50% of P5 if you want to get more damage dealt, which is almost is as much as a knight at P5. So Necrologist is an option. Beacon Bloom for reality debuff and seal on her ult. Then we have a Balloon Party for sturdiness, the counter, little healing. So she's good. So you can do that. Balloon Party as well. You can do Dikke. Where's Dikke? Dikke, classic healer, do some damage, heal a little bit, right? Immunity to all, dispel and immunity to all debuff for Dikke as well on the ult. Now, you could use my boy Diggers. On 1.1, we'll get Diggers. I believe is on Pickle's banner. Now, Diggers is a slept-on unit, in my opinion. Diggers is extremely good. He applies Nightmare on his ult. If the enemy is inflicted with any stats down, which they will be because he debuffs a lot, the effect lasts for 3 rounds. So you could chill for 3 rounds. You don't need to. You could just do Nightmare for 1 round. What you do is you do his ult at the end, so they get Nightmare, and then basically they don't play the next turn. So this always gets some use, even though you might not be able to use this for 2 rounds if they get the three stacks trigger. But on his attack and on his debuff, he has debuffs everywhere. So on this debuff, and that's where I was saying like we might be able to constantly apply weakness on the enemies. But granted, now this is one enemy, so you could focus on the boss or the biggest unit in the encounter. It's 1 target, but it inflicts 1 stack of weakness. So once you do the ult with Centurion, you do the ult, inflicts 1 weakness to all enemies. By that time, you're regenerating Moxie, and the weakness wears off. You reapply it, at least on the boss, with Diggers, and you also could opt for just debuffing. So Diggers is extremely good because he's universal in the terms that he reduces reality and mental defense. For example, Baby Blue is only mental shred and Bicorn Bloom is only reality shred. So sometimes it's not optimal to bring them to a party because you lose some debuffs because they're not the same type, right? So you don't deal mental damage. So why would you bring Baby Blue, right? So this is the concept. Now, he also applies Fear for 1 round and 2 rounds on level 3. Now, Fear means at the end of the round, Moxie -1 on the enemy that has applied Fear on. Now, this is a mass debuff. So everybody is going to lose Moxie at the end of the turn if you have at least level 2. So try to do level 2 whenever he comes out and you pick him up. Diggers is probably a really good option. He also shields himself. Shield himself for 33% of maximum health of 3 rounds, and he also does it again, but on all allies on I3. So this is a really good unit, strong unit that you can use for everybody, but Centurion also can benefit from this just for the reality and mental defense. Minus Moxie on the enemy, so you don't have to deal with ults as much, as often as you might think on other teams, and also applies weakness, so you could use him and do some weakness if the boss is attacking and you need to heal or something, so you need a little bit of damage mitigation. So this guy is really good. We also have classic Sonetto for damage buff and disarm. I mean, disarm is classic, but damage buff, damage taken for you. For all allies, damage dealt plus 15, 20, 25. Now, let's go on the Am I missing anyone else? No, because Matilda is mental, Baby Blue is mental. Okay, on the 4 stars, you could use Zima. Zima is actually good for his rarity. Don't mind the rating here. You don't care about the rating. You care about clearing the content, right? And making the character work. So if Zima comes in and he has a silence, right? He has a silence. Boom. And then you do the buff, and he buffs damage dealt plus 15%, and damage heal plus 15% for all allies. 20, 25, 25, 25 at level 3. It doesn't matter if it's 4 stars. If it's really good, it's really good, right? Now, he heals, I believe, when the caster attacks. If the caster is below 50% penetration, no, it doesn't heal. He gets more stats, like penetration or damage taken if it's below 50, if it's above penetration, right? He only goes into Insight 2, so you just want him to Insight 1 just for some survivability on him. Since it's 4 star, it's probably going to have lower stats. But and he also seals. Mass attack. Seals everybody. No. Seals on the main target. Okay, I thought it was everybody. Thank God they specified. It seals the main target for 2 rounds. Now, Zima is a good option. You could also use I was about to say Erick for the crit, but if you're not going crit, maybe you could use Erick for the critical resist rate minus 25 and defense minus 25 if you have Tooth Fairy, because Tooth Fairy makes everybody crit basically, almost. So maybe at that point, if you still don't have any support and you want to do crit, you could use Erick. But in late game, there are better options. You should probably try and get better characters. Also, on Tooth Fairy characters, Beacon Bloom is going to be there. So by getting Tooth Fairy, it's basically guaranteed that you have Beacon Bloom at least once, unless you get very unlucky, which could happen. Hopefully you don't get to that point. So Erick, I don't know about Erick, to be honest. Now, let me see Cristallo, because I remember that Cristallo had something interesting. It was reality death. I mean, you could use Cristallo. Reality death minus 25 for the target. It translates into a buff basically. But she doesn't provide some sturdiness and healing take and damage reduction on the ult. But I don't know. You could, yes. Could you? Yes. Should you? Probably not. If you have Zima, use Zima instead, right? Now, Oliver Fog doesn't provide anything besides a lot of defense, so I'm not gonna recommend Oliver Fog. Let's move into 3 stars. For the 3 stars, you can use La Source and Bette. Bette is a little niche, and La Source is a healer that you can use if you don't have any other healer. You don't want to pick up Sotheby. You don't have Dikke yet. Then you can use La Source. La Source is a nice 3 star, decent healing, actually pretty good healing. She also has what the fuck is You Wish? Damage bonus minus 20, damage taken reduction minus 20% on the enemy with the highest attack, so the boss, right? So some utility there, some healing, and then she removes Moxie on the target when you do the ult. She's mental, so you're gonna lose a little bit on the damage, but she's a 3 star, so who cares? You only use her for her healing and Moxie minus 2, right? If you don't have anyone else. Or if you're building a second team and the second team has Centurion in it and you don't have a second healer, then that's an option, right? Now, Bette is one of the only characters, if I believe. No, Leilani also has it. Leilani. Let's talk about Leilani as well. I don't know if how doable that is, but Bette is another niche character that you could use. She also has Empower Incantation on your target buff. You give a shield to Centurion, also Empower Incantation on the target, which means that 2 random incantation get plus 1 star. So she's really good for Centurion if you're trying to spam. If you're trying to spam anything, because if you're trying to spam incantations, having the Empower Incantation helps you. If you're trying to spam the ult, having the Empowered Incantation of some of the skills, for example the AoE, will also gives you Moxie, which will indirectly favor your second playstyle, which is the ult spam, right? So regardless of your playstyle, having empowered incantation, it's always good. And it's 2 cards. So if you have a lot of Centurion cards on your hand at the moment, you do the ult with Bette, you get the shield, and then you get empowered incantation. So she's really good. She's 3-star, but you can put some tanky Psycube on her so she doesn't die as much, or she doesn't get like blasted immediately. Also, on top of that, on her Insight 1, after you casted the ultimate, which we just talked about, Moxie +1 for the ally with the lowest Moxie. Now, if you're spamming ult and you time it with ult with the Centurion and you time it correctly, you might be able to fine-tune and get like a speedrun early start on her building of the Moxie. So if you do the ult with Centurion, she's gonna be 0 Moxie right after. Then you do Bette ult. It's gonna detect who has 0 Moxie or the lowest. If it's Centurion, so you have to be careful and try to have 1 or above with everybody. So the healer has to be 1 or above. You do Centurion ult, then you do Bette ult. Bette ult is gonna give +1 to Centurion because she has 0 now, and then you start the next round with 1 Moxie already, right? So Bette is an extremely good option if you don't have anyone else for a support / DPS. So you could use Bette 100%. Leilani is another one that gives Moxie. She doesn't give empowering condition, but she gives Moxie. Now, her I1 and her ult gives Moxie. So her ult is reality damage plus 1 Moxie for all other allies. So Centurion and I1, when the caster enters battle, Moxie +1 to everybody. An additional +1 Moxie for Leilani. So that would mean that Leilani starts with 2 Moxie. So it's easier to get to the ult and get +1 Moxie again to everybody else. So she's really good. Now, this only triggers once. So you're gonna start strong, but then you need to rely on building the ult again. And I don't know if her kit is that... I don't know. She's a DPS. She's a DPS-ish, so she can support in that way, but I mean, you can get Leilani for free, right? You get Leilani for free, and you can level her up really easily. So you can just do that, and you should be fine. Do you have the refund on Leilani? I believe you do. I'm not sure 100% because I didn't level her up yet on my main account. She's like level 10 or something. So I don't know if she has the refund. If she has the refund for the investment, that's even better. That's a free like Insight 1 Leilani. And you can just do it and use her with Centurion. When it comes to healing, Lasurs, Dikke. Let's do this. 6-star. 6-star healing. You can use Sotheby, of course. It's a little iffy, but Sotheby is fine. You need to pre-plan because Sotheby has the cure one, right? Which is still fine because Centurion doesn't need to heal too much, especially if she's I3. If she's not I3, you can get a nice Psycube. We'll talk about it in just a second. So, Medicine Pocket is another nice healer that you can use. They have a debuff, damage taken plus, right? It doesn't scale too much. It stays there, 20%. You apply stardiness on the heal, and that's it. Days on the ult. Moxie +1 for them. Not for Centurion though. 5 stars, healers, Dikke. You can use Tenant. You can use... wait, I think that's it. Oh, Balloon Party or Necrologist for the plus 50% damage, right? Now, on 4 stars, do we have any healer 4-star? I think Apple is a healer, but I wouldn't use him, to be honest. Don't use him as a healer. You're losing a lot of it's basically wasting a unique spot in my opinion if you put Apple as a healer. Lasurs, you can just use Lasurs. You probably have Lasurs, right? Everybody has Lasurs. Just use her for healing. So I think that's it for the characters. Let's quickly touch on the Psycube and then wrap it up because the video is becoming really long. Now, as usual, there is the usual suspects Psycubes. So you could use Hopscotch for the ult. You could use Brave New World for the incantation if you're going with the playstyle. After you do the ultimate, the other attacks deal more damage, and the hopscotch is the more you kill, the more your ultimate might increases, which could be an option, a very, very good option. Actually, I would say this is the first option if you are playing for like the main gameplay, you ult spam Centurion. Now, you also get Incantation Might by default, which is good, at level plus 12. Now, you could do Thunderous Applause in the future if you manage to make her crit, but we'll see about that. Now, a good one that you could get is his Bounden Duty, because if you get his Bounden Duty, you will heal 60% of your attack, so it scales with your attack. Every time you kill a target, an enemy. So even if you have Centurion I3, which heals every time you lose Moxie, so when you do the ult you heal. If you don't have the ult, or if you're not doing the ult, you're holding it, right? Because you're doing more skills, then killing an enemy will give you back a lot of HP. Because like Centurion I3 probably has 1.1-ish. Level 1, let's say. I3, no, actually I3 even higher. I2, let's say I2. I2 is like 1.1 thousand damage, 1k, let's say 1k attack. So you're gonna get back 600 HP, which is a lot, every time you defeat an enemy. So also, this Psychube has the highest attack scaling of all of the other 6-star, I believe. So this is like, it's gonna give you a lot of attack at level 60, yes, but level 1, like compared to the same level of the others, it has the highest attack. Another really good option is Blasphemer of the Night. So this is basically Incantation Might and damage dealt plus 12. This will almost always triggered because you're using a lot of debuffers, so it might be better if you're using debuffers that apply 2 buffs at the same time. For example, Beacon Bloom has Reality Death and damage taken. So when you do you apply 2 debuffs. 2 stacks of 2 debuffs. So having Beacon Bloom, you could easily trigger Blasphemer of the Night, but that means that you need to keep debuffing constantly. I mean, you kind of want to anyway, but the moment you don't have negative status, you lose the damage. So be careful about this one. Don't pick him the first thing. Don't pick him from the selector. Pick like something more immediate, like Hopscotch or Brave New World. And then you can buy Blasphemer of the Night later. For 5 stars, now I've heard some people saying don't buy any 5-star. I don't agree with this. Also, if you follow my Twitch, you will be popping up here. So isn't that cool? It's gonna see your name in my videos if you follow on my Twitch, because when I'm recording, if you follow, I'm using OBS, so you will pop up on the top of the screen. Everybody will see your name. So follow right now. Go follow my Twitch. Twitch.tv/Jakazin. Now, a lot of people say do not buy any 5-star, but I say buy them because you need to get a lot of characters. Don't be like that, and like you're not gonna be able to buy a ton of 6-stars anyway. What are you gonna use on your Sonetto? What are you gonna use on Dikke? What are you gonna use on Balloon Party? When we get to the end game, you're gonna be required to have 2 teams of 3 characters at least, so 6 characters in total, and interchange them because you're not gonna be able to use them all every turn. Like you use them and then you need to select 1 or 2 to keep the others going cooldown for 1 turn or even more. I don't know. For now, it's 1. So, what are you gonna use on Balloon, huh? What are you gonna use on the other one? You're gonna use the purple? Are you gonna use the purple shitty one? Are you gonna use Bow, Covet, Meek, Navigating, and Venomous? I mean, they work, but why not? Like it's not even the same currency. Look, it's not even the same currency. On the Fragment Shop, you will get this one from the Noom Analysis at the same time as this one. The yellow one is for the 6-star and the gray one is for the 5-star. So I'm not saying buy everything, but buy the crucial ones. For example, afternoon nap, bright future. You have footloose and laughter for free. You can get maybe, yeah, you can get these two at least, her bright fusion and after, and then buy the enhancements and the level, the awakeners with these. But it's only 15. You will buy them in 2 seconds, right? So it's 160 per month, and you can't buy this anymore. So with the excessive amount, you can just buy others and have them on supporting your extra characters, right? So I don't agree with people saying that you shouldn't pull with for 5-star light cones. You should, yes, you should. You don't want to use the purple ones ever. The more you ditch the faster you ditch them, the better it is. Now, rant aside, the option for Centurion would be maybe these two. But why are you... The question is... No, this one is not good. Bright Future. Ritual Might, which is the old damage. And then you get damage bonus here. Okay. Well, my question is... I'm not going to recommend you any 5-star. You know why? Because if you have Centurion, you're probably going to get the 6-star from the cube, right? From the cube selector. And we already talked about the 6-star. So get Hopscotch or Brave New World first. I say Hopscotch. Hopscotch first. And then maybe Brave New World and his Bound in Duty if you want to make it so she heals herself more often, so you don't need to focus on a healer. Maybe you can get a healer that heals less, or it will help. Let's say if you run Sotheby, getting his Bound in Duty is going to help Sotheby heal because she doesn't heal instantly. So if you need an instant heal, you can just kill someone, right? So that's what I'm going to say. This is the Centurion build. Now, I think that's it. If you have any other option, question, whatever, maybe I forgot to say something, feel free to tell me in the comments. I will reply to them. I will address them if they need to be addressed. And that's it. Leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe for more videos about this and more games. And yeah, be careful what you do and have fun playing the game. For this video, it's over. Thank you and see you next time.